Good morning, dear students. We are going to start the next chapter in physics, force and laws of motion. In class 8th, you have learned about the definition of force. You all know that force is a push or pull. Now let us understand some more examples related to force. Let's start with the definition. Force. It's a push or pull which enables us to do any work. For example, when you want to open or close a door, you have to either push or pull it. Effects of force. Effects of force means what a force can do. First, force can make a stationary body in motion. It means if an object is kept at rest and you apply force on it, the object can come in motion. For example, a football which is kept at rest can be set into motion by kicking it. Second, force can stop a moving body. A moving car can be stopped by applying brakes on it. So we can say that it can stop an object which is already in motion. Third, force can change the direction of a moving body. Suppose you are riding your bicycle and you want to change its direction, then you will have to change the direction of its handle by applying brakes on it. So we can say that force can change the direction of a moving body. Fourth, force can change the speed of a moving body. If you are riding a bicycle, consider the same example again, and you want to increase or decrease the speed of it, you will have to apply a larger force in case you want to increase the speed. And similarly, if you want to decrease it, you will have to apply a smaller force. You will have to decrease the amount of force you are applying on it. So force can change the speed of a moving body. Fifth, force can change the shape and size of an object. If you apply force on any object, you can change the shape and size of it. For example, you take a hammer and you strike it on a stone, it can be broken into pieces. Another example, you take a rubber band and you stretch it, the shape of the rubber band changes. Types of forces. Force can be divided into two types, that is balanced and unbalanced force. Balanced force. If there are number of forces, that is more than one force, acting on an object such that the resultant, the net force is 0, then it is called balanced force. For example, when you are standing on the floor or you are sitting on a chair, the weight of your body acts in downward direction and the reaction of the surface acts in upward direction. That is, the reaction of earth acts in upward direction. They both are equal and opposite and they both cancel each other. So it is an example of balanced force. Another example you can take, let us suppose there is a book which is kept on a table. The weight of the book will act in downward direction, we know that, and the reaction of the table will act in upward direction. These both are again equal and opposite to each other, so they both will cancel each other. So it means in balanced force there is no acceleration. Unbalanced forces. If the resultant of the applied forces is not 0, it is something, any value greater than 0, then the forces are called unbalanced forces. For example, when you kick a football, it moves. So it's an example of unbalanced force. So in unbalanced force, the object accelerates. So the condition in which the force applied on an object, the forces which are applied on an object make it accelerate is called unbalanced force. Galileos Experiment. Galileo was a scientist who observed motion of objects on an inclined plane, and he deduced that objects move with a constant speed when there is no force acting on them. In his experiment, he took a marble and two inclined planes. He observed that if you roll down the marble from one side of the inclined plane, from the left side of the inclined plane, it climbs up to the right hand side to the same height from where it was released. He also said that the velocity of the marble increases when it comes down and the velocity increases when it climbs up. Galileo said that when the marble is released from the left, it would roll down the slope and go on the opposite side to the same height from where it was released. If we take the inclination of both planes on the both sides equal, then it will climb up the same distance that it covered while rolling down. Now if we change this angle of inclination of the right hand side, let us keep the left hand side angle constant and change the right hand side angle of inclination. Let us suppose that we decrease this angle of inclination. Then if this angle is decreased, the marble it would travel further distances till it reaches the original height from where it was released. The right hand side plane, if you again decrease the angle of inclination, again the marble will travel the larger distances to maintain the height from where it was released. If you finally make this angle 0 degree, that is, you make the right hand side if you make the right hand side ultimately horizontal, then the marble would continue to travel forever and it would try to reach the same height where it was released from. So in this case, the unbalanced forces on the marble are 0. There is no unbalanced force acting on the marble. It means that if there is no unbalanced force acting on the object, then the object and the net force is 0, then the object will continue in uniform motion. But in practical situation, it is difficult to achieve 0 unbalanced force because we cannot make this frictional force 0. Frictional force is a force which opposes the motion. When any object is moving on a surface, the frictional force will act in the direction opposite to its motion and it will oppose the motion of the object. So you cannot make this frictional force exactly equal to 0. But then it can be reduced by taking smooth surfaces and by applying some lubricants on the top of the surface. So in practical situation, if you do this experiment practically, the marble will stop after covering some distance because of the frictional force acting on it. Galileo's ideas were further studied by Newton and he gave us 3 laws of motion which we are going to learn later in the next part of the chapter.